back to the Full Fledged Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Mulvaney. Today we have a very special guest, the first true guest of the podcast, Mr. Logan Heflebower.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. How are you, buddy?
No, not too bad. Just
That's good.
yeah.
Uh, so, Logan, give the people a little bit of an introduction of yourself.
Well, I live here in Denver. I'm the waterfowl buddy. Used to hunt with Justin when he was my coach. I actually took direction from you at some point. No, that was when I was playing ball. You were coaching me, and yeah, just we hunted a lot together, and got bullied by Mike in the way, and or along the way, and yeah, I just live up in North Denver with my wife and my dog. He's sitting back here behind me, and he's the bird dog. He's kind of the reason that we always get up and do stuff around here. And so, yeah, just, living the dream, fixing up a house, trying to find enough time to hunt. So,
Aren't we all?
yeah,
Aren't
right.
we all? Always trying to find any excuse we can to get out in the field, whatever it
I
is.
know. I know.
No, it's funny. So I coached you, but I don't know if you knew this or if you remember this, but like I'm actually younger than you
Yeah.
because you took your red shirt year, right? And
Yeah, I
so
think I was
yeah,
like, I think the only guy older than me on that staff was, well, I was two, with Hut and Mike. And I was like, am
yeah,
I older than a coach? Yeah, it was weird. Probably should
right.
have. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good time. That was a good time.
yeah. I think I was younger than a handful of the seniors in that group because you guys had a handful of red shirts,
Yeah, we
right?
did. It was
Yeah, so
Flint and I. Well, because Griff was there too, and Griff was in my class, so he went from
yeah.
1 year of playing with me to being my coach. And I was like, "This is kind of funky." I roomed with you. I don't know if I can listen to you, but so yeah,
Yeah, but
that
why are
was
you
fun,
yelling
man.
at me, man? We just 6 months ago we were hanging out having beers together.
I was gonna say, I was like, dude, 4 months ago or 6 months ago or whenever, like I was yelling at you to clean up your dishes, and now you're trying to coach me. Like, what's going on
Now
here?
you're telling me to get my glove out in front on a damn ground ball.
No kidding. No kidding. But yeah,
Um,
it's been cool. I miss
yeah.
having
So,
fun, buddy.
what? Yeah, that's the tough thing. We'll have to find a time to get back together, hunt some ducks or geese or something together again, because it was
Yeah.
always fun, hanging out in the in the duck blind. I think we spent more time goofing off, but that's
Yeah,
as much of the
that's half
memories
of it.
as actually get. I don't even ever remember how many ducks we got on a certain hunt or whatever.
Right.
Occasionally I'll get the Snapchat memory pop up and be like, oh, there were like four ducks. Oh, I'll bet you I was with Logan, and I'll be like, oh, I remember in the duck blind that one day.
Yeah. We didn't kill a lot, but we killed a lot of time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
shared a lot of laughs. So
yeah.
um, no, so duck season has been going for a while up there in Colorado.
Yep.
You've been out more than a handful of times. How's it going? How's the duck season?
Ooh, it's one of those funky years. Last year was killer. You and I know the ponds that we used to hunt and used to walk way too far, and I unlocked the secret of just walking to the shorter pond. Turns out it's probably better. But last year was crazy. Like every weekend they were doing it upright. We'd get, the spot reserved. And then this year's been, I think, opener, and 3 weekends after that, we got skunked.
Mm,
And saw, like, normally you're sitting there waiting for shooting light, like, okay, there's a couple birds out there, or they're working over top. Like, nothing first flight at all. I think the fourth hunt of the year, we killed one gadwall, which, like, doesn't make sense. And it was at, like, 10:30 in the morning. Like, nothing first light. Glass
yeah,
calm, it's like crap weather. And, go to check all the northern reports, and it's like, oh, all of Canada and all of Montana and all of Wyoming is like 50 and sunny. It's not
yeah,
freezing. Nothing's moving. So we
right.
finally got a decent push, like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Hmm.
It would have been 3 weeks ago when I shot that mallard off of there, which was pretty cool. But yeah, finally started seeing some birds, and then the split was the first, so we had a week of no ducks, And the geese are thick out here. The lessers are everywhere. The snows are already here from what I've read. I haven't gone on a goose hunt yet.
Mm,
But so we took the split and went to the mountain foothill or the mountain zone. Court's cousin lives up in Vale, and so she's like, "I found ducks up here." All right, we tried it last year; it was pretty cool. Tried it again this year; did pretty good. Um, not like Eastern numbers, but it's fun. Like they're just
yeah,
10-yard shots. They're coming straight down, like right over your
yeah,
head. Completely different. Definitely harder to walk in those rivers. I wish I had my
yeah.
fly fishing boots on. About ate it like 4 times in one decoy. I was like, I'm going in today. I can just feel it. So yeah. But yeah, it's been all right so far. I mean, lucked out on a couple birds, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's
So
fun. I mean, it's fun to watch the birds work in different environments. We're more used to like those open pond environments, and even like the rivers that we would occasionally hop on. It's a lot more open. But when you're up into like some hillside or some timber or whatever, seeing them work that way is just so much different, and
yeah,
it just keeps it fun.
for sure. I mean, I'd never hunted ducks like that before, and I couldn't believe last year. I was like, all right, we'll probably shoot like, you know, at least in my opinion or what I've seen, the rivers out here, whether it's mountains or the Platte out east, like when it's cold, you're always going to see and hear the golden eyes just flying over. And I thought, all right, we'll get a couple of those. Like, had no
Hmm.
clue that there's a ton of mallards up there, and
Mm,
there's a boatload of green winged teal, and they're all beautiful, like
yeah,
studs. And
awesome.
so that's pretty cool. I mean, the spot we hunted on this last Sunday, parked my truck at the top of the road, off the side of the road, like look straight down. There's just a willow tree there. Of course, cousin's like, we're gonna sit there. Like, okay. So I like let the sled go and just like down a gradual hill, like 30 yards. I wander down. Everybody else wanders down. Throw like 5, and you don't have to haul anything. Threw like 5 decoys and a shaker, and that was
Yeah,
it. And then you're not paying attention. All of a sudden, you look and there's like 3 just taking the elevator straight down. So definitely really cool. Um, Definitely completely different. Like they don't really respond to calls as much. They're very visual based, I think, because the river's just a highway, and they are very pattern birds. Like they know exactly where the food's at,
yeah,
and yeah, it's interesting for sure.
yeah. They know where they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's fun. Good way to burn time.
So was that public land up there too, or was that private?
Yeah, that was all
Public.
BLM land.
Okay.
So I think I mean, she knows more than I do. She does a bunch of grouse hunting up there. She's found turkeys up there. She tried to get me up to come hunt turkeys, and I missed it coaching the last couple of years. But yeah, just BLM land, like frontage roads on I-70. You just get off, and it's like Edwards, Wolcott area. But yeah, all just BLM land. I mean, you look across the river from where you're duck hunting, all the elk are just like chilling on the golf course. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So most of what you do, or up to this point have done, is for duck at least public land.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So you were talking about we had this one area in Colorado that we've hunted. Um, we won't name the name so that we don't spoil your spot, but it's it's a bunch of different ponds, and like what we were saying, you have to do like a reservation system, which I think it's changed since I was there, right?
Kind
It,
of,
a little bit. So,
kind of. Yeah.
anyways, at the time, what we would do, um, we would take turns. Every hunt it would change who took the shift. The shift was, you leave your house. The one person leaves their house at like midnight, 1 in the morning, whatever. They drive out there and they park their truck in the parking lot, and you're basically sleeping in the parking lot until the time where you're able to check into this reservation area, and you did it all in person, whatever. So one person would do that for the party. However many you had hunting that day, you only needed one person in the party to do it. And so you reserve it. And we had this one pond, and it was one or two ponds. And every time that we didn't get it, we were devastated. And it was just like, but it was like, I don't even know how far of a walk,
A
but
mile and 3/4. I looked it up one day. I got
a
skunked and I was
mile
all
and three
mad.
quarters.
Mile and 3/4. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all great
So,
going there because it's downhill. But when you come back
yeah.
skunked, you're like, I'm selling my gear today.
Yeah. Well, the only like really good time was like just after it snowed, or like within and this, or if you had gone before the snow had melted, because
Yep.
your sleds could just drag across, and there was no friction. It was just a nice, easy mile and three-quarter walk
Yeah.
in nature in the dark.
Yeah. It was a stroll. It wasn't a friggin' haul. Yeah. That's
But we
exactly
always I just took your word for it because like, I've never hunted here. Like I'm barely like just getting back into duck hunting. I had tried to kind of do it during college, and then it was just like I'm not really like I don't have the time, whatever. And where I went to school, there wasn't a ton up there, and I just wasn't committed to it. So I was like, whatever. And then I got back into it with you, and it's like I'm just gonna take your word for it. And he's like, oh, this spot, and it's like way down here. Okay. Yeah, let's do it, man. And we get out there and we come back with a duck or two. And it was like,
Yeah.
wow, that was worth it, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was, I
But
mean, I owe you an apology for all the days I hauled you out there because you know what pond I'm talking about now. And it's
yeah.
cake, dude. It's like a 150-yard walk. It's nobody pays attention to that pond. You go hunt the pond, they're everywhere. And I'm like, what was I doing for like 4 years? Just walking back, that last, what is it, 500 yards to the parking lot is just like uphill, like actually uphill, not gradual. And you're just
Yeah.
like, I think I'll just sleep here. I'm just done. But, well, yeah, I mean, the
Yep.
first time that Mike and I went out there, he was like, let's go out here. We'll walk away from where the people are at. All right, cool. So I'll go. We're, doing the little e-scouting on Colorado Wildlife website.
hmm
The picture we saw was like all smartweed and like didn't look like just a cattail pond. And
Yeah.
so I was like, all right, I'll bring some full body honkers, bring some full body mallards, I'll bring a dozen floaters. You bring a dozen floaters, like we'll load it up. And it's kind of horseshoe shaped, so we thought we'll sit on the point, give us a good. We get like halfway out there, and he's gone. He's in crazy good shape. He's gone. I
Well,
lost sight of him
he would
like
always
20
take
minutes later.
Boo too. His
Yeah,
dog Boo.
yeah. And he called me, and he was like, "Where are you at?" And I was like, "I'm still this far." And he's like, "Dude, we have 20 minutes to shoot in there. Where are you at?" I was like, "I'll get there." So I finally get there. He's all mad. There's birds working, and I'm like trying not to just keel over and die. And we finally get back, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you think it's so easy? Like, why don't you take half of this stuff?" So I gave him half of it, and then we get like halfway back where he called me when I was on my way out, and he sits down and he goes, "When I'm done having a heart attack, I'm gonna kick your ass." And I was like, "This was your idea, bro." So it was good. I mean, that was always a good pond. Like I've got a duck on the wall from that pond. That was the biggest mallard I think I've ever shot in my life.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, number one, that pond's dry. It's done. At least
Really?
this year, it's dry. Yep,
Dang.
which is crazy. Like it's random, and they've been no rhyme or reason as to which ones are drying up. But then that timber pond that we always saw that was dry, it's had water the last 3 years, and it hunts pretty good.
Mm,
It's pretty cool. It's like you don't get much, timber hunting in Colorado, but it's pretty cool.
yeah.
So,
Very nice.
yeah. But and
So
then the reservation system, man, I'll tell you what, like we missed it. We would always go out like after Thanksgiving. All you had to
yeah.
do is like reserve it, and the warden goes out and they put a slip in for you. You stroll in at like 5, shooting lights, 5:45.
Mm,
Wander down there and was like, man, this is the cheat code for it. But now
right.
I don't have anybody take shifts, so I drive out at 11:30, sit and wait till check-in time. I'm like, all right, 12:05, boop, and drive back home. My wife's like, "Are you gonna be okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. I can sleep later." But
I'll
yeah,
sleep this afternoon.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Those like college football game day naps that last like 2 hours. Those are.
Yep. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. So when we had hunted together, we were never very lucky or successful in the band retrieval, or success rate was
Yeah,
very low on that. So um, the tide has turned on that in your world. You've
it
gotten a
has.
couple now, yeah?
Yeah, it's off the same pond, same spot, 2 weeks apart. Literally, like we always used to joke in college when you and I were in college, went different areas, but we'd always drive up north, and I know there's a banding station like a couple miles from where we used to hunt, and we're like, how are we not killing bands?
Yeah.
Like we're killing tons of ducks before that spot got really really popular. it
Mhm.
would be like normal to like knock out of there at 8 o'clock with a 4-man. And we're like, man, how are we not killing any bands? So I went out with my wife after a good, like the first big snow we had here. Cattails are all smushed down. Like, I thought, well, it's not iced up, so they'll still be here. And I went and reserved it so I don't have to compete with anybody else. You know, I can try and get Cord a good shot because we're still
Yeah.
working on that like solo goose. She's had a couple that tried to land in her back pocket. She's been drinking coffee. So we're working on having it ready when they come by. Um, but yeah, dude, it was like probably an hour and a half after shooting light, sunny, windy, you know, the recipe for mallards, and the group works and they do it upright. And the first one that comes in, I drop. And honestly, I can't tell you the last time I've like checked legs like intently. I'm just kind of like, whatever, throw it in the pile.
Yeah.
And the dog brings it back, and I was like, hold on a minute, I think that's banded. I flipped over. I'm like, oh my god, it's banded. Like, completely lost my volume control. I'm freaking out. Like if there were actually birds working overhead. This is like a 4-pack, and Courtney's like, "There's more over the top." I was like, "I don't care. I got a band." Freaking out. So that was pretty cool. It was it was banded like it was banded in Walden, so like not far, and it was
Yeah.
banded the day before our anniversary,
Oh, that's
like
cool.
3 months ago. So my buddies were giving me a hard time. They were like, "Yeah, did you shoot the like Walden school mascot? Like what? That thing's hardly, it's young.
Right.
But it was cleaned out and it was cool. So that one's at the taxidermist. It's gonna go up on the wall because I always said I'd mount my first band. And yeah, then the second one was a couple weeks ago. Snowstorm. I went out with Lopez and shoot into this group right at first light. I'm like, okay, like, they were scop, and so we're like, all right, we got one. They came in and they lit in the decoys before shooting light. We jump up, they scatter, we each pick our bird. Dog goes out, brings it back, and this one I paid less attention to. So brings me Kyle's, brings me mine. I set him up on his little hut, and I go to adjust the Drake's wing because it was a little funky, and I was like, "No way, bro! This one's banded too." And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Yeah." But this one was cool because it was banded in. I might mess this up. Jefferson Parish or Jackson Parish, one of the two in Louisiana, in
Hmm.
2016, I think. So I
Yeah, I
was
think
like, "Oh,
that's
that's
what you had sent me.
yeah." It was it's older. That's cool. The band actually looked newer, which was very strange. I was like, oh man, this is probably a spring chicken too. Um, but the coolest part is, I went north and came back south like any duck, but it jumped a whole flyway, which was kind of cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, I
that was on
was
the lanyard. It wasn't a very pretty bird, but
yeah, right. No, I was talking with I think I was talking to Brooks about it. You haven't met Brooks, have you?
I don't think so. I think maybe in passing one time. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, I was talking with Brooks about it. You know, how there's regions, I was explaining the flyways to him, and like different flyways have certain birds that you just will not see in other flyways or whatever. And so
Right,
um like your mallards and stuff like that, you never know which way they're going to go. As long as your flyway has mallards in it, you never know, you could have a chance that, like you said,
right.
they hop a flyway. But I was trying to explain that to him. And then um I guess for the listeners who don't know what a band is, waterfowl get like trapped humanely, I guess you could say.
Yep.
I don't know. Well, we're not PETA around here, so we don't really care. But they get trapped, like in a net or whatever. It doesn't really hurt them. So, anyways, they get trapped, and these wildlife agencies will go and take these little metal bands. I guess that's just what we call them.
Yeah.
Little tiny bar that it'll wrap around a leg, and it has like a serial code, essentially. And so they crimp it around their leg, and it's not tight or anything, so it doesn't really change anything about the duck. They don't even really know. Obviously, it's an animal. They don't know
Yeah. Kind
what's
of like a
going on,
collar
but
on a dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it just is the way to identify and track these birds. And so what happens when hunters like Logan or other duck hunters anywhere harvest one, and it has the band on, you're supposed to go in and report that band. And so you go in and that's how Logan knows, this is where it came from. It was banded here, there. So they have all this information on what year roughly it was banded. Um, or they'll have the exact year it was banded, but then they'll have their best guess on how old it was when it was banded,
Right.
and then where it was banded, all that good stuff. So then you kind of have the backlog of, this is maybe an older bird that, like Logan said, it's kind of cool. It hopped a flyway from, you're in the central flyway, right?
Yeah, it would have
Or,
been in the Mississippi I think it's the Mississippi.
yeah. So,
So,
anyways,
but yeah,
that's
it's like
kind of the breakdown of what a band is. They do have other types of bands. Oh, yeah. So, Logan, for the listeners,
yeah,
non-viewers, our buddy Logan is showing what a band looks like. It's no bigger than like the knuckle, like the top knuckle of your finger
yeah,
long,
yeah. This
and
is
just
actually
wraps
just
around
a
their leg.
replica.
What's that?
This is just a replica. I ended up getting a replica. There's little companies that'll make them, decoratively,
Oh
and
yeah,
I kind of felt bad. And, you hear all the stories of like bands, ruining relationships. Like, no, I shot it. No, I shot it. I
oh
don't know
yeah,
which bird because they were both right next to each other. The one Kyle shot, I shot. There's two down there. I'm like, all
right.
right. And they bring him back. I don't know who shot what. I was pretty sure I shot the one on, my side, but I didn't know. So I ended up getting a little like memento replica to give to him because I was kind of like, I don't want to burn any bridges here because we think we shot the piece of jewelry. They're like
Yeah,
very covered. And Courtney didn't understand either. They're super coveted. And so I was just
right.
like, oh, whatever. But yeah, I got to give that to him this weekend.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. That's a cool little gift, actually. That's awesome
yeah.
that you did that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you were saying, it's kind of it's coveted, but it's not a reward system,
No.
right?
Well,
And
there
so
are, but not
yeah,
single bands. Yeah.
yeah. So it's not like for reporting it you get $50 or anything crazy like that. It's something that you just it's cool to get them because they're as rare as it gets.
Yeah.
There's rare birds anyways where, like certain flyway, like we were saying last episode, there's certain flyways that just don't have certain birds. And
Yeah.
if you happen to see one, it's like, holy cow, I've never seen this one before. I can't believe I'm so lucky. And like if you happen to get one, it's like, dang, that's awesome.
Right.
That's as rare as it gets.
Yeah.
But then like the next step up of rarity is getting one with a band. And so
Yeah.
there's some places that, like you were saying, if you live closer to a banding location,
Yeah.
you may have greater chances, but there's still birds that do whatever they want. There's no like, oh, because they're banded right here, they're gonna come straight to this pond
Right.
less than a
Yeah.
mile or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I saw a clip what was it, yesterday or the day before. Somebody was like twirling a band around. It was banded in Tokyo, Japan. I don't know where they killed it. They
whoa,
didn't say where they killed it, but it was, they'll fly all over the place.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, those, so every now and then, like, obviously once you kill your first band, you're like, all right, I want a neck collar or a double band. Because a double band, I don't remember the value. I think it's either 50 or $100. But one of them's green, and that, like, if you kill a double band, like, $50 falling out of the sky. There's some sort of
yeah,
reward to that one, but, then there's guys that shoot the ones with, like, the GPS trackers on it. Like, it all scales up, but yeah, it's pretty
yeah,
cool. I've known guys that, they're like, yeah, I got a drawer full of those at home. I'm like, you what? You have a drawer of them?
right,
Like, I'm like cradling my lanyard right now because it's on my lanyard. I don't want to let it out of my sight. He's like, I got a
yeah,
drawer of them. Oh, okay.
yeah.
So,
I mean, you go and watch like guys on YouTube or um the old like TV shows of the people that are guides for duck hunting, and
yeah.
they just have like their whole lanyard is like full of them, and then they have like a backup lanyard that one's full, and then it's just
Yeah.
like
They start
it's
putting
all
on their
just
dog's
jewelry at a
collar and
certain
you're like,
point.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, lots of people, like some people who that's all they do is duck hunt, and like that's their way of life is
Yep.
that those guys run into a lot of bands, but
Yeah.
so less rare for them, but it's still a cool thing.
Yeah. They're I don't remember where I heard it. It was years ago, but, and I would assume it still sits true is those guys, you see the whole lanyard. They're like that 80-20 population
Yeah.
or 20-80. Like 20% of the duck hunters kill 80% of the birds that are harvested. Just
Hmm.
because of where they're at, like you get guys like Vandermoor out of, Habitat Flats. Dude does that every
Yeah.
day. He's guiding every day. Of course he's going to run into more. I got to go to work.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's pretty neat. I mean, I was like, this is 2 in like 2 weeks. There's no way I'm going to see another one for like 10 years. Which, whatever. Like, that's not why I do it. But now I'm like peeking at the legs a little bit more. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
up now. Not now.
Just does
So,
one happen to have one again?
yeah.
Hopefully.
Anybody got
Maybe.
any jewelry here?
um so you talked a little bit about your spread, and so I'll tell you because I don't know if you listened to Wednesday's episode or not, but I was, or maybe it was Monday's. Anyways, went hunting on Sunday, first duck hunt of the year. Um, Tanner and I, my buddy Tanner, we went out and public land. It is what it is. This one, it's so we're on a lake that there's no reservation system for this lake, and so there's no permanent blinds or blind locations. Wherever you want to hunt, you can hunt.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, there's places like that that you know of in Colorado too, but it's first come first serve. Wherever you set up, you can set up. It doesn't matter. And so, anyways, we get out and we had spent all day Saturday scouting. Sunday, we were like, okay, look, this is our prime spot. There's ducks everywhere. There's coot everywhere. Like there's thousands of coot in this spot. And
The
so
old
it's like,
dog
well,
trainers.
yeah, if we really want to take a coot out, we could, but we never did. Anyways, we get out there, and there were two boats of hunters that had beat us into the like our first location that we wanted. And I was like,
Hmm.
damn, okay. I mean, we had it happen to us last year too. And it's just like people with boats, like they just get out there early and they have like the best setup. But man, like we never saw their spread, but holy cow, I think they had to have had like 2 or 3 dozen decoys. They had the butt, like the splashers that like shoot the water at the butt,
Oh
and
yeah,
like they're spinning wings. They had everything, and like
yeah.
they even like they brought all their own cover for their blind. Like they had like pine tree. Like
Oh my
one boat
god.
was just for their blind for
Oh
everybody,
my
and then I think
god.
they had an
That's
A-frame and everything.
nuts,
So like this guy, like it literally was like piled up on the front end of their boat, and
dude.
then like it was two guys to make sure like it stayed on the boat, and he was going like 4 miles an hour getting out of there to the boat ramp, so nothing fell off. And then the other one had like 2 or 3 hunters in it with a dog, and they kind of boogied out of there. But like they seriously had like as impressive of a spread as I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And we're sitting out there. I ended up using 2 dozen decoys. I put a what was it, 8 of my dozen teal decoys on the jerk rig, and
Hmm.
then I just had my dozen mallards just kind of sprinkled in there.
Right.
Um, I'm a little rusty on my decoy spread layout, and so like I need to
Yeah.
I need to get back into that dive of like studying how to lay out my decoy spread. But
Right.
we'll get there. Hopefully, a few more hunts and a little bit more research. We'll have that a little bit more locked in. But
Oh
like
yeah.
I'm out there, I'm like, hey man, we got a jerk rig, we got motion this year. I didn't have it last year. I was like, yeah, like we're gonna be good. And then I look over and like these guys are just bang, 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 bang all morning, and they're like
Yeah.
300 yards from us. And I'm like,
Oh,
dang.
that's the
And
worst.
like we're getting some to pass over us and they're just going straight to them. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do they got going on over there? I'm like looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like Tanner had his binoculars. I pull up the binoculars. I'm like, oh, they've got splashers, they got this, that, like they have everything.
They
Like
got it
it
all.
looked as appealing for a duck as it could get. I was like, they're
Yeah.
not stopping here. We might get a pass shoot on a couple on their way out.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
like so that's our spread right now. My spread. Couple dozen decoys is all I have here. I have another, I think dozen and a half, maybe 2 dozen
Yeah.
up in Wyoming that my dad uses. And then I've got the Mojo, but my battery doesn't work, so the Mojo's out for now. Which I don't know. I've got motion with those jerk rig. It'll be all right.
Right.
I don't know. What's your spread looking like these days?
Well, I
Typically for a
actually
mallard hunt.
okay for so let's say mallard hunt on a pond. I actually early season before the geese show up. I'll bring all the species, and then everything I've learned is not everything. I've learned a couple things, but a lot of the stuff I do is stuff that I've like picked up from other clips on TikTok or YouTube videos or whatever. Like early season geese aren't really here yet, so it doesn't look realistic. Throw out a dozen honkers because the ducks are like that's. I would assume they're like, that doesn't make sense. I'll
Yeah.
take like dozen and a half, and I usually take until we get the migrators. We're hunting a lot of locals, or
Hmm.
maybe some photo migrators that are moving on the moon. But until you get those big pushes of those big mallards, like I don't take too many drakes. I take a lot of brown, a lot of gray, like all my gadwall, all my widgeon, and the widgeon kind of pop a little bit. I'll take a couple drakes, but a lot of hens. Even the
Yeah.
teal we shoot, like we don't shoot those stud blue wings up
Right.
here like ever, and we don't
Yeah.
get the green wing studs until about this time of year. So I just take a bunch of brown and I make it move. And I'm kind of partial to mojos. Early they work. After the split, I usually leave mine in the shed just
Yeah.
because they see it every time.
Hmm.
But I know you and I used to kind of get in like, all right, we kind of. I still remember they were skirting us at the river one time, and you're like, we're trying the power V, and you just like set them up in a point on the river, and like I don't know why we did that, and it worked. Um,
Right.
but I always giggle about that.
It was just the
I'll be,
dumbest duck in the region, and he just was like, "Oh, ducks, land."
yeah, exactly. We're like, hey, it works. And I'm like, well, maybe, but
No.
no, I don't even, I don't even go with like shapes anymore. I try to just like match the scout, and I don't get a ton of scouting in, but even on
Yeah.
like public ponds, like if I'm in a stoplight and there's a pond and there's like a dozen ducks, like I'll just take a picture of it, and I just try to look, and usually it's pods of like 2 to 5, and they're moving. There's always ripples, so I'll take like a couple shaker butts and I'll put them in a pod of 3 and a pod of 4. And, I always have like a lead drake and a lead hen, like two that look like they just landed, and they're kind of
Yeah.
swimming in. But I just kind of scatter them along the bank, and I let a lot of the motion do the work. And then last year, gosh, it was like second week. I saw something. It was from a podcast. I don't know. Gosh, I don't know the name, but they were saying something about people don't realize like the effect that hunting over honkers has for ducks. And I had 4 honkers, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. They're big for visual. So
Hmm.
I found a swinging deal on Marketplace for these old honkers. I reflocked them, repainted them, and then now I've got 18 of them. And I'll throw
Nice.
those out and like 8 to 10 ducks, and it completely changed how the ducks behaved. And we got to decoy some honkers on that pond, which is pretty cool. I know you and I've done that a couple times, but to
Yeah.
get, and we're not going to pull 30s and 40 packs of geese down, but you get those pairs
Right.
and those triples, and it's pretty fun to do. So,
Yeah.
um, the place I'm
Yeah,
going
for sure.
tomorrow, like I'm going to take 4 decoys. I'm going to take 2 that move, and I'm going to take 2 drakes. It's a little
Yeah.
blue that hits the river. I've hunted it, and I've brought the house, and it's almost like they don't know how to get in there because it's too crowded. So I
Yeah.
just put like a pair that's moving up here and a pair that's moving there. I sit way
Yeah.
back, and then I've also started doing stuff where like everybody's everybody throws their decoys like right out in front of them, and they give that kill hole, and
Yeah.
I'll just like sit off to the side of my decoys. I'll just put them, if it's 2 of us, I'll set them off to like if I'm with my wife, I want her to get the shot, so I'll set like the kill hole more up in front of her. But I
Hmm.
don't really hunt like directly in front of my decoys anymore. Um, Sometimes I will, but just giving them a
Yeah.
different look. Like everybody on public land, at least out here, and I'm sure you can attest. Like everybody who's getting into duck hunting, I bought a dozen decoys and I bought a mojo, and I'm gonna throw a dozen decoys in a pod, and I'm gonna throw my mojo right in the middle, and I'm gonna want them to land and sit on the mojo. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if that's all they see, especially at our favorite spot, um, if that's all they're seeing on every other pond on the property, like even opener, I knew that they were going to see a mojo and a dozen, 2 mojos and a dozen. So I was like, I
Yeah.
took like 7 decoys, and all of them were, as many of them were movers that were not mojos as possible, just to create ripples.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to say it worked, but we didn't even see a duck fly over on opener. Like not one, like way high or anything, like nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
They just
So
weren't
I mean,
flying.
Yeah, I try to just like be as completely different as possible with it, and I think that's just the nature of public land. Like,
Yeah.
private land, I don't have a bunch of access to it, but when I've gone, you're like, bring the house because
Hmm.
like they want to be here anyway, so it looks cool when you kill them over 5 dozen honker decoys. Like, sweet,
Yeah.
but I just make it really unique, and I really like pushing water around versus just flapping wings.
Yeah.
So, that floating mojo, that's that one on the intermittent timer. That's what
Hmm.
Mike used to have. And he
Yeah.
always said, he's like, those floating mojos will always face the wind for you. So you're not out there twisting around. For the most
Yeah.
part, I think it's true. But yeah, it's on intermittent timer. So it's just a little flashes here and there at early light. And then once that sun gets high, I'll pull it. So I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, I don't kill enough ducks to say I know what I'm doing, but I like to try a lot of new things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it too, is like, when you're not a professional duck hunter where, your income and life depend on you hunting ducks and knowing where ducks are and whatnot. You're out there for the leisure of it, I don't know, I forget the word I'm looking, but the leisure of it. You're not there trying to survive by
Right.
duck hunting.
Yeah.
You can afford to kind of mess with some things and be like, hey, like I know, like the little scouting I did, there's ducks in the area. This is kind of what they want to do. Like, let's try this, and
Yep.
see if it works. And I think
Yep.
that was part of the fun of it too for us. Is just like like you said, the flying V decoy spread. It's like, what like what does it matter? Like, if it works, great. It's actually going to be like a funny story,
Right.
if nothing else. And if it doesn't work, okay, well, doing it in pods, or how some other guy on YouTube or Facebook or whatever said to set up your decoys, that if that's how they say to do it, like if that wouldn't have worked either, then what does it matter?
Right.
If it doesn't, like, no, if nothing is going to work, then nothing's going to work. So you don't
Yeah.
you don't know until you try. And like you said, trying different things is sometimes it gets you into a little bit better hunting too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done it like last year. Every pond that I drove by, and a goose roost is one thing because they're just everywhere. But
Mm,
every time I was driving by geese on ponds, I mean, they're either going somewhere. You don't. I guess I don't see them where I go a lot, like loafing on the little ponds, and they're definitely not roosting there because there's two
yeah.
giant reservoirs south of where we're at. But every time I'd see them, there's like 10 geese, and they all are like single file, like kindergartners, just like boop, boop, boop,
Hmm.
boop, boop. So I set them up just like that. And I get back, and sun finally comes up, and I'm like, that looks so bad according to everything except Mother Nature. Like, that's how
Right.
I've seen it, so that's how I'm gonna do it. But like, there's no way. That looks so weird. Like, you'd think they'd be in a bunch.
Right.
Sure enough, I mean, they'd see it, and like you'd honk once, and then
Yeah.
I've taken like those amphibious floaters, the Dakotas that have the keel up in it.
Yeah.
I've taken two to a spot that gets hunted hard. I've taken a pair of mallards, Drake and a hen, and I set them up on this log that was in the water like they were just sleeping there. And I had a better hunt than
Yeah.
I have when I've taken, a dozen ducks and a dozen silhouettes to try and create visuals. It was just, I don't know, kind of fun. There's a challenge to it. Like, take your
Right.
plastic call, take your plastic ducks, try to sound and look better than Mother Nature and see what happens.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Um, so for, like you were saying, motion in the water, do you run a jerk rig, or what are you using for motion in the water?
So, being that I have the psychotic dog that I do, I can't say like a jerk rig's great. It's such
Yeah.
a pain. It's such a pain. I don't know
He runs it
why.
over and fucks
Well,
fucks it
part of
all
it
up.
is like and it's my own doing, but I have one of those marsh stands for him. And I get that
Oh yeah.
little coil and I'll clip it to his marsh stand because it's all burlap straps on it. Take a
Yeah.
carabiner and tie a knot so it stops, and I'll clip it to his thing. Well, if he jumps out and he doesn't go like in a straight line and he crosses over it all of a sudden the jerk rig's following him around. I'm like, yeah, you know. So I've
Chasing
started doing like,
decoys.
I'll run a jerk string more like parallel with me in the cattails.
Mm,
And I've got that motion ducks that you've got. That thing's great. And I saw something somewhere. This guy took one of those old, well, they're not boat anchors. They're the decoy anchors. But they
hmm.
stomp it down in the mud run a string through the eyelet and up to a butt feeder. And when you pull it, it like plunges itself underwater. And when it comes up, like huge waves.
Oh
So
yeah.
you don't have to tug on it hard to get a ton of water motion. So I'll use that if they're really stale birds. Like for the entire split, we've had high of 50, low of 25, sunny, not much wind. We're not really getting new birds. The birds that are here are going to get stale and patterned really fast. And this week, since yesterday, when you start hunting them again, they're going to be patterned. They're going to get stale. So I'll just try that different look. But I really like the Avian has a shaker. It's not like those little butt ones that like shake super fast. It's a really slow
Yeah.
one. So you get these big wakes out of that. I have one of those
Nice.
pulsators. I swear I've killed more ducks overtaking like just that and like three other things. I mean, it's on
Yeah.
intermittent timer. It's just splashing water everywhere. Like, love that thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I kind of like the hands off motion, but
Right.
sometimes you need the jerk rig and then too, like I just have learned to back way off of my calling, like, way off. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I hail called at a bird, or
Really.
you might hit like a soft little greeting call, but everybody's sees a duck, quack 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 quack, and then they're just like the whole time the duck's looking, they're just like feeder chuckling like there's 1,000 ducks in the pond. I'm like, no, that there's no way that checks out. I've done it. I've
Yeah.
flared birds. You crack over the one note and you're like, that's not it because he's
Yep.
gone. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, just like little tiny calls. Um, and just yeah, kind of just sitting. I sit farther back now, like just do everything I can to be as different from the public land weekend warriors. And
Right.
we all are the weekend warriors, but I've actually seen a lot of things about. I don't know. It might help you. The coot rafts are like I've seen a bunch of people. They'll go buy 2 dozen coots and like sprinkle in half a dozen mallards. Or
Mm.
like I know that widgeon are always or not always, but often with coots, like on big
Yeah.
water, and so they'll take 2 dozen coots and they now make coots that shake, so you get ripples in there, and it's just a coot
Yeah.
wrap, and the ducks know that coots are safety.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I'll get away with that one. Asking if I can buy 2 dozen more decoys. Uh,
Yeah. Same.
but yeah,
Unless
we
I
put
find
up
like you said, a screaming deal on Facebook Marketplace of somebody who's done hunting waterfowl and just wants to get rid of them.
right. Like, give me all your old teal and mallards, and I'll just spray paint them black.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we put
Exactly.
up a shed last summer, and it was supposed to be storage. And now when I open the doors, like decoys fly past my head. I'm like, I have a problem. I should stop this. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what the coots are like down there. I mean, we get a couple here and there. Like you'll have one out in the middle of the pond. So I
Oh,
have eight. I have.
I'll have to send you a video on my way home from work. Um so we live on the lake that we hunt.
Hmm.
We're not like on the water or anything, but there's this one opening of trees where I see in, and that's where we hunted. It's not far from the house, which is awesome. Um, but uh, dude, for like 2 weeks now, it's just been coot central, and like thousands. I'm not even kidding. Like thousands of coot. And so yeah, tomorrow on my way home from work, I'll have to send you a video because chances are they're going to be in there. These guys went in this like on my way to work this morning. These guys were getting in, getting ready to get set up. And I saw where they left their blind, which is a no-no. You're not supposed to leave your stuff on. Like
Ah.
they set up a makeshift blind. You know how you do it. And they just somebody else had done it, and I saw what they did. They took parts off of these other guys' blind and made their own blind because there was only two guys, and they moved it closer to the water, and then they left that. So now there's two piles of trees, one small one and one big one, and it's like
Right.
one, you don't care, two, you don't care to read the regulations, and three, like what the heck, man? Like
Yeah. Are these like A-frames or are they like just stick blinds?
just stick blinds. So
Really? Okay.
yeah, like
Huh.
I don't know how the first big pile happened. Like it looked like somebody took a chainsaw and
Oh,
like there
jeez.
are trees. It looks like there's trees out there laid down. Like
Jeez.
um it's just like bushy and tall, thick. Um I don't know how they got so much of it, but there's a ton, and yeah, it's just stick blind.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
um, yeah. So no, that's Tanner and I's thing that we're getting next because our setup. The biggest thing that I think was wrong with our setup on Sunday, we got one spoonbill and one green wing teal. Yeah, Spoonie,
Now,
of course.
Hollywood, let's go. I
Yeah,
love the
so
old coupler that'll make your day.
so we the Spoonie was at uh first light. We popped up and those guys started popping off at first light and it's like, well, fuck it, let's do it. And so we get up and we we had three of them in the spread and we only came out with one. Um but yeah, then we had one green wing or a group of green wing. No, it was just the solo. Green Wing Drake, he came in. He was a really pretty bird, but yeah, so he came in, and that's all we ended up with. But our biggest thing was our blind was not very good. Which that's always the hardest part of public land is like
Mhm.
you get to a spot and you have to build your blind, and it's like you spend so much time getting into a spot and then setting up your decoys, and then you have to set up a blind, and it's like, man, for all of this, like to do it right as you can, like you almost have to get into a spot at like 4 in the morning
Yeah,
so that you
you got
can
to get
like
there
build
early.
yourself a true blind.
Yeah.
And
Do
so
you
we
uh
like
do you have
go
a
ahead.
port like one of those little portable blinds? Like not like an A-frame. I'll have to send you a picture of mine. I got it at a heavy hauler, and it folds up like a lawn chair, like an extended long lawn chair case, really thin, and it's a
Mm,
two-man blind, and it's just a
uh-uh.
lean-to, so like you want your back against something. But
Yeah,
I love that thing, dude. It weighs absolutely nothing.
yeah.
And Nate and I have brushed it in a couple times. I'll send you a picture of one of the times. I was just like, all right, I'm setting decoys, get as much grass in there as you can. And like,
Hmm.
I came back at one point from going across the river. I had to go water the flowers. And I come back and I was like, where, oh, there it is. Like, I didn't see it until his head popped up. And
Yeah.
it's like $100, dude. It's so worth it.
Yeah,
But
that'd be a
because you're right.
good
If
little
you
get.
build one, like, got to get big sticks and you literally have to like build the frame. Like, all right, let's put the studs in the walls, and
Right,
it's
exactly.
it's a bear. I hate it.
But yeah, our little blind that we built was just by the time the sun got up and everything, we I went out and fitted it. We both went out, fitted it with the decoys a little bit just because it was like we're not getting any action. Let's go mess with the decoys. We looked back and we're like, that's one of the sorriest looking blinds we probably have ever seen. And
Oh, I've been there. I've been there.
it's
You
like,
look back,
well,
you're
we
like,
did end up with a duck or two, so oh well.
yeah,
But yeah, that was our biggest thing was like if we could have probably had a better blind, we probably would have had a better day
right.
because you know Tanner's learning to call, and so I was just like, screw it. The birds are flying. This is as good a chance to try to get a bird to
Mhm.
turn as any.
Mhm.
If they're flying over you, you can throw a like you said a hail call, comeback call, whatever, to get a bird to turn. Like the opportunities were plentiful to work birds with a call. I don't think they were very responsive to him in general, but
Right.
anyways, they were flying over, and they, like you said, the occasional crack of the call, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's not right," and they'd flare. But
Nope.
a lot of times, like if depending on what angle they came from, if they came from one angle, they'd give us like a second pass
Mhm.
and like a second way of working. And then, but if they came from another way, like they would come and like start on it, and then they'd be out immediately. It's like, yeah, it's just because they saw us, and like we had no back cover. Like we're out. So the way it is, they let the water out like
Mhm.
crazy in the winter. Well, not like crazy. It's normal, but um, these spots that we're hunting, the water level in the summer is so low that when you let out, you know, 3 foot of water, the shoreline gets put out like 70 yards from its normal shoreline. And
Yep.
so you're out, like we're out sitting in the middle of this rock bank
Right.
and there's nothing. And so like people are bringing out these stick blinds and whatever that it's just like bunch of rocks and then a bunch of pine trees. It's like that's weird to the human eye, but I mean the ducks don't care. But it's like,
Right.
what the hell
Right.
is going on here? Um, but yeah, so it's just like you're out sitting in the middle of nothing. There's no back cover or anything, so you have to build the full blind if you're going to do it right. And
Right.
it, by the time we kind of realized how poorly we had done, it was like, screw it, let's just sit here. And like we went and got a few more sticks, and they were like, okay, like that'll help us a little bit better. We never had any more birds work us, but yeah, I
Right.
think the blind is like as crucial as anything for getting birds to work.
For sure. I mean, you know, you always hear it like your hide is the most important, and I would 100% agree with it. And there's times where you like get out there and you don't have it, and you're like, ah,
Hmm.
man, it took me like way longer to walk out here. The spot I'm gonna go to tomorrow, it's probably like 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah,
And there's some times where I'm like, man, I hoofed it out here pretty good. And there's other times where the dog's like, hello, are we gonna hunt today? And
right.
then you get there and you're like, man, I don't have like I'm just gonna lean up against a tree down here on the river bottom because I do not have time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the little portable blind I have is awesome. And then like I actually went to there was a like a little park at our old house and bunch of like blown down timber and stuff, and I grabbed a couple like real straight sticks and
Mm,
then a bunch of this loose grass that had been like cut, but it was really long. And I grabbed like fistfuls of it and I zip tied it. And I
mm,
just like shoved that in the bottom of my sled, so I always have at least some grass and some sticks somewhere. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, cover's definitely it. I mean, even in cattails, like I try to use the same path I walked into where I'm sitting as when I go out.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like over the top. I'd love to be able to, you know, buy a drone and like see what it looks like. But
Right.
if you're looking over the top and there's just like pathways everywhere, like that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
At least I don't think it would. I mean, I don't know. It's worked
Right.
sometimes, but yeah, it's yeah. And then the calling too, like late season. I mean, I go with some guys and they're like, of course, cousin, I was telling her, she's like, how do you know when to call, where to call, whatever? And I was like, well, a lot of mistakes, a lot of flared birds. But then,
Yeah.
you know, if the duck's coming in, he's like flying straight at you, don't call. Like you see
Yeah.
him, just stand still. You know, even if you're standing up in the blind and like a duck is working, like he didn't see you, so don't sit down and let him see you move. And if he's coming straight at you, you know, don't
Yeah.
call. Like you sold him on something. Don't convince him he doesn't want it. Like he wanted it at some point. So
Right.
that's kind of I don't know, little tiny things, but definitely your hide. I mean, that is anywhere, and it's
Yeah.
nice when people will build a brush blind. Like you know, up by where you went to school, that one property where the two rivers meet, that
Yep.
blind's been there for 10 years, and everybody stacks it. But like if I go hunt it, I hate how it looks. Everybody just lays stuff on top. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen a bush grow this way in nature ever. So I'm like scrambling around trying to grab it, like stand it straight up. Like this needs to look like a bush, not like a blowdown. I mean,
Right.
that might work, but I'm not going to take that chance. You know, I don't
Yeah.
see enough birds to be like, ah, there's more coming, no big deal. Like that might have been my only group for the morning. I'd like them to do what I want them to do.
Right.
So,
For sure. For sure. Um, so you're going out tomorrow. You're
mhm.
how often are you gonna get to go out until the end of the of duck season slash goose season?
um, I'll go out tomorrow. I might chase around either ducks or honkers on Sunday. Saturday, I'm gonna go out with Nate. He's got that little German short hair pup. She's about 8, 9 months old now. We're gonna put her on her first roosters on Saturday,
Nice.
so that'll be cool. That'll be fun. Nice change of pace. You know, I've always wished for my dog that we lived in like Kansas or something where you can be like, all right, I got an hour till shooting light. Hop in the truck, let's go hunt corners. You know,
Yeah.
so that'll be fun. The following weekend, we're doing our family's Christmas early, but I got a buddy that lives a couple miles away. He's part of that Colorado Wildlife or Waterfowl Association, that club out here. And
Okay.
there's a field like really close to our house. Like can't believe how close it is to the city. He's like,
Oh
oh,
wow.
dude, these city birds are stupid. So
Yeah, I bet.
might do that, but I mean, I prefer ducks. I think I don't. I feel like a goose looks like a goose, and it's just
Yeah.
there's not a ton of unique about it. And
Right.
I'm not a great caller, so
Yeah.
they got a lot more ears because they fly in groups of 30. And when they
Yeah.
hear that wrong note, they're all like, no, in unison.
Yeah.
Um,
It just takes one to tell them
yeah,
no.
exactly, dude. Like I call to the village idiot, but if he picks me out, then I'm really screwed. So yeah, I'll probably be on the river for the rest of the year. Lopes has
Yeah.
got maybe a connection on a couple cornfields. Um, but yeah, I mean, pretty much every chance I get, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
I think we close the
Hunt.
24th out here. I have to
Okay.
double check.
Hunt and water as often as you can.
Always, I love
Yeah.
water, and
Yeah. That's the
that's
way I've always been. I've never really been on a field duck hunt. I've done
mhm.
it for goose, but like hunting in a cornfield for goose, but I've never hunted ducks in a cornfield or anything like that.
Yeah. I've never have either. It's definitely a bucket list thing, like sit in a layout. Because I don't ever take the dog to go hunt pits. Well, he just let himself in. Um, I didn't train him for pits being the first dog.
Yeah.
So like, I'll get an invite to go to a pit, and they're like, "Hey, bring your dog." I'm like, he's ornery enough that if I put him in the ground and he can't see what's going on, he's gonna be pissed, and then we're gonna be pissed, and we're not gonna have any
Yeah.
fun. But like layout, corn stubble field for mallards, like definitely would love to do that. I'm hoping maybe this connection pans out east a little bit, but
Yeah.
there's just something about water, and it's same
It was
people.
fun throwing out those decoys, and I mean, obviously you have decoy spreads for field and decoy spreads for water, but
Right,
it's just fun to watch them come work into water for some reason.
for sure. It just doesn't get much better in my opinion, and I would say, I think my dream hunt is like a snowy afternoon on the river. Like there's just something about it. Granted,
Yeah.
like we had a blizzard day on the pond last year and it was ridiculous. They're like, I
Yeah.
don't think I've touched my calls in the last four groups that have come in. Like they're just like, I want to be here. I happen to be there. Um, but sometimes it's like I want to be here and I'm 100 yards away and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the river's fun. I think it's pulled it out 31st. So we got till 31st out here. I don't know why I was thinking it was earlier. For ducks, and then now that I'm not coaching, I'll be maybe chasing some geese around. If this same field plan pans out, we might be able to get on some snows. I don't know. I don't have any snow decoys. I think Lopes has some of them from his dad, but um, yeah, I mean, definitely water. I always giggle. I used to make the mistake of like, oh, the ponds are full. I'll just go to the river. Mm-mm. If the ponds aren't frozen, the ducks don't care about the river. So
Yeah.
like, I'll hunt, that spot you and I used to go to, all the way until it's frozen solid.
Yeah.
And even if it thaws back out, like once it's solid, they're gone. They write that spot
Right.
off. So, I know we broke ice that one year, or
Oh yeah.
we. I that video came up the other day. I was cracking up. You're just like push, and I was like, Did you have to forget your waders today?" Yeah, that was fun. But
Oh shit.
so, what? When do you guys? How long are you guys going out there? How long's waterfowl out there?
So I just looked it up while you were chit-chatting there. Our duck coop merganser goes all the way till January 31.
Okay, nice. So same on it. Yeah, nice.
And then let's see. I had just seen
Let's say I think our
sandhill
pond.
crane. Oh, before I forget, have you hunted sandhill cranes yet?
No,
Do
I
you ever
had a.
want to?
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh. It looks like so much fun. And I've heard they're tasty as all get out.
Oh, dude, I want to hunt them so bad. I could have taken a pot shot at a group last year. I didn't know. I was like I always get the permit because it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything. And I'm like, yeah, why not? And I was
Yeah.
looking for
Throw it in
phones,
there.
and they came over, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know their season dates. Definitely
Yeah.
could have taken a pot shot. And like my phone is loading, and I'm like, they fly so slow. I was like, come on, come on, come on, come on. And they like just get out of range, and I was like, it opened last week. Dang it! But
Dang it.
yeah, dude, I've always wanted to get Kai a pair of goggles, go out to
Oh
a
yeah.
field, smack them around a little bit. That'd be fun. Do you
Yeah.
guys get them down there?
We've seen groups of them the last 2 years, not like crazy numbers, but when we were scouting Saturday, they have that very distinct call when they're flying 100
Mm-hmm.
miles up in the air. And we're like, "You hear that? I hear that." And look up. They're like way out there. Oh, yeah, there they are.
Yeah,
So
they
we
fly
we haven't
so.
had a chance to shoot at any, but they're around.
Yeah, That's the only thing. The only time I've seen them this year, they've been flying over my house in the city. I'm like doing something in the garage,
Interesting.
go out, and I'm like, I hear them. I look up,
Hmm.
they're like in the stratosphere. I'm like, oh, there they are. You
Crazy
know,
birds.
yeah, I'm gonna have to get on top of an overpass at I-25 to get a shot at them, and I can't do that. So
Our goose goes until February 9th. So
okay,
and
yeah, how are your
light
geese down
goose light goose season is whatever conservation seasons till the 31st. I've never partaken in that, but
there? Oh, you guys ought to
what
be
did you say?
closer to them than us. Like, do you guys get snows? And you probably get. I don't know anything. Like, I don't know how the. I know they shoot a pile of them down south, but you guys get snows over there?
I did not ever see snow geese last year.
Really?
Granted, I did not venture much outside of work and home, and I didn't
Fair.
really like look for geese really. I mean, in my experience, like when I've seen snow geese like in Kansas, when they're like over water, like you will find them. Like if there's open water, like a lake or a pond, like a really big pond, like you will find them just piled in to like thousands in the very middle of whatever lake or pond.
Yeah.
Um, our lake here is very, very big, and so um, they could be in there, and I just don't know it.
Hmm.
But really, I haven't like I didn't see them while we were hunting last year. You would think
Gotcha.
like while you're out hunting, you'd probably see them.
Right.
Never saw them or heard them.
Huh.
I mean, we had a bunch of lessers, but not like anything crazy.
Yeah. I know there's. I mean, you've probably been out that. You know where it's at, Pruitt, out here, way out east.
I don't think I have been out
Like,
there.
I think the corridor between like Brush and all the way out to Sterling. Like right now,
Okay.
the guides are absolutely slaughtering them, and I'm like,
Oh,
it's not
really?
even conservation season. Like they're just everywhere. I drove past Pruitt
Yeah.
2 years ago. I came back from Minnesota hunting at my uncle's place, and it just like it looked like ice. It was so
Wow.
thick in the middle. It just looked like a giant ice chunk. And then I was like, oh my God, those are snows.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you've got stupid money for, a billion decoys, like your best bet, I think,
Just
here is a guide. And I'm like, torn on it. I kind of want to hunt them, but I really just
right.
like hunting water with my dog. Like,
Yeah. That's
so,
hard to beat. But yeah,
yeah.
snows. Oh my gosh. I went I went on one snow goose hunt with a buddy of ours, my dad and I's buddy. Well, it's more my dad's buddy that I've become acquainted with, and just the amount of like socks and silhouettes and just like you're
Crazy.
talking like hundreds and hundreds of decoys that you're putting out just for snows. And it's just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
When you hear like,
And
I'm
we did
running
all
double
that work
digit.
and we didn't even get a single snow goose that hunt. So it was like we put
Yeah.
out like 200 decoys and we didn't have a single bird land on us.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start hearing them say they're putting out like double digit dozens, I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, that's not for me.
Yeah. About 12 dozen socks, about 5 dozen this. It's like 12 dozen? Oh.
Yeah, it was like I got 12 dozen white grocery bags in a drawer in my kitchen. Can I put those on a stick? Because those are for free, you know.
It's
But
like you hear them say that, and it's like, Did you mean 12, or did you mean like 12 decoys? Did you mean a dozen? You
yeah,
said 12, and then you said 12 dozen. Did you mean 12, and then like retract and say I mean a dozen? Oh no, you
yeah,
meant 12 dozen. Okay.
yeah. I would hope they sell those decoys in a baker's dozen. Like, at least give me one for free while I'm buying 10,000 of them. Gee whiz.
Seriously.
But yeah, so we'll
Well,
see.
shoot,
I don't know. How's your pup doing?
she's
She
good.
still hunting with you?
Oh yeah, she was a little rusty on the first retrieve. We didn't really work on any of the retrieval and duck hunt and stuff. And that first one, she went out to go get it. She went out all the way to it, sniffed it, like put her mouth on it, dropped it, came all the way back in. I was like, "What are you doing? Go get the bird." And she went out like three-fourths of the way, came back, went out halfway, came back, and I said, "Go get the bird," and like fetch it up. And like I mean, I didn't I had the buzz or whatever. I was like, "Oh, I want to zap you so bad for not listening to me right now. Go get that damn bird." And finally, she just like kind of did her thing. She like swam around the decoys all the way to it again, grabbed it, and brought it in. I'm like, "Why didn't you do that the first time?"
Yeah, what was so hard about that?
And then the second one, she just kind of like half-ass grabbed it and like slowly brought it in. It's like, you are being such a shit. You have an
Oh.
awful owner. But
I said that last year. Kyle and I went out to the river, like right after Thanksgiving, snowing, nothing really flying. Well, take that back. A lot flew at first light, and we underestimated our walk. So we're like 10
mm,
minutes late. And I look up as I'm setting up, and there's just like balls of ducks buzzing the river.
yeah.
It's out where it's out. It was the flying V or the power V spot on the
Oh
river.
yeah.
And
Nice.
we ended up joking. We shot the trailer park limit. We shot a Eurasian dove because those things are in season all year round. We shot
Right.
a hen green wing and a hen merg. And we're like, this is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. And then Kai, for absolutely no reason at all, I'm picking up decoys and I'm like, where's that dove at? And I look at him and he's like, I was like, hold on. No, you've never done that before. And he just ate the dove. So I'm looking it up like, oh God, do I need to go to the vet with this dog again? Like, what's going to happen? Found like a bunch of Reddit threads. They're like, oh yeah, my dog eats the first two doves we kill and then we have a great hunt. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I was like, I wanted to be so mad at him, and I was like, well, I missed something along the way. Like he's never done that before. But he's chomped it, gone. I was, could not find it. He licked his lips. I'm like, all right, we're leaving.
All right, it's time to go.
Yeah, dang it. But
That's funny.
yeah,
But, well, shoot, man. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to cover? Duck hunting?
well, too much. I'm curious about it here. You got a bow that I need to get set up. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'll be coming to you for arrows, but
Hell yeah,
I
you
just
will.
yeah, that's right. My uncle gave it to me, and he was like, "I'm too fat to get up in my tree stand anymore. Here you go." And it's like in the case with everything. It's just he's shorter and squattier than I am, so he got a little bit different draw length. And I was like, "I need to get this adjusted because I do want to go out
Yeah.
and learn." I mean,
Right.
again, going back to the Power V location, like I've had guys walk through the river bow hunting on public. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
I don't know anything about deer hunting, but I've been listening to your podcast trying to learn as much as I can.
Yeah,
Ah,
man.
I don't ever think about can't drink coffee because they'll smell that. Like I like my blind coffee,
Oh, you can
So
still drink coffee. Just
I don't
eh,
know.
go
Or I
for it.
need some ozonic stuff now. I gotta get rid of. Don't wash my jacket.
Yeah, just as long as you play the wind, you'll be all right.
Fair enough. That's all I need to know. But yeah, and then Lopes is like, "Hey, you should come out and archery elk hunt." Like, holy
Oh
cow!
yeah.
Like, I would love to, but I also part of me is like, maybe my first big game, like I'll just take down a deer. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I'll do all my research and everything, but I don't know if I want to like have my first animal be an elk that I got to pack out. Like, almost know what I'm doing. Have to make
Hey,
some crazy.
you just gotta dive head first into the shallow end, man.
All right, I'm.
Do it.
That, that explains a lot. I've done that plenty of times. That's why I usually can't come up with some answers. Dive in a little too quick. I'm like, God dang it, what happened? But
Whoops.
have you? Did your? I haven't listened lately. Have you? Has your wife gotten a deer yet, or is she
Oh
just
no.
going along with you?
No, so she came out the one time just to kind
Okay,
of hang out.
gotcha,
And then she came out to help me look for one that I hit, and
gotcha,
she hasn't done like any actual hunting herself.
gotcha, gotcha.
We're still we're still in the exploratory experimental stage of whether we like hunting or not. So I
Yeah,
I took her out for the deer hunt. It was like the opening weekend of muzzleloader, and so we got all oranged up. And I was like, "It's muzzleloader." Like they walk around like Elmer Fudd with muzzleloaders for I don't know why, but like literally they're just walking through the woods with their gun up, and it's like obviously it works for somebody, otherwise nobody would do it.
right.
But it doesn't make sense to me why they're doing it, and it's like. if they do it, we can do it, and like I don't care. We'll be oranged up, and we'll just go see what we can see. And
Yeah.
she saw a buck with me and a few other deer, and so it was like kind of that heart pounding moment of like, oh wow, that was kind of cool. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool, wasn't it?
That's
And
right.
so
You love that, don't you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe someday we'll get around to um getting her. I don't know. I have an old bow that we might set up for her. If she wants to do that, or maybe rifle. I
Yeah.
don't know. Rifle's a little bit simpler, and you just got to go like for here. You can't hunt rifle in a lot of the wildlife management areas around here, but not even in a couple hours, like not even 30 minutes, 45 minutes south of us. There's a or in other units, but south of us, there's a unit that you can hunt rifle that
Nice.
has a pretty big population of deer. So, um,
Yeah.
she's gotten to taste some fresh venison, and she's like, "Hey, that stuff's pretty good." I was like, "Yes, it is." And
Yes,
she's
it
like,
is.
"So, are you gonna get another one?" I was like, "I sure am trying."
I'm planning on it. Yep.
Yep.
That's what we've been
So,
digging into courts. Her dad went out with his buddies, and on opening morning of second season last year, they had 3 bulls down in like an hour.
oh wow,
And I
awesome.
was like, and he's like, dude, please, like, her mom won't eat it. And
What?
she's like, I don't know. So he's just like piling summer sausage in a bag to give me. I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to make it 100 yards to my next duck spot. I'm going to be so fat and sweaty from eating all this summer sausage. But yeah, man, it's like, I want to do that so bad. I just, I'm always in that dilemma of like, well, I've got this bird dog for however many years. Like maybe in lieu of having a bird dog, I'll take a couple years and get good at big game. But then
Nah,
everybody's
you can do
dreams
them
like, hey,
both.
are you coming? Yeah. Well, a lot of the rivers out here are shut from, gosh, I'd have to go look at exact dates, but it was like early November, mid November. They shut all the rivers, so you can't hunt ducks on the rivers. Thankfully, this year the weather's been crap, so we were on ponds. But it's
Mm,
plains rifle season, so like you can't touch the rivers.
yeah,
Normally, you're watching ducks pile in, and you're like, well, I hope the deer hunters have fun because man, that looks nice.
right.
But yeah, yeah, it's been. I don't know. Hopefully, you guys get a good push of birds too. I know they all showed up. At least here, they showed up late. I think it's going to be one of those years that January gets pretty froggy pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
we had quite a few work. I mean, we had a handful of teal groups even
yeah,
um working around, but yeah, I mean, from what I could tell, the bird numbers look pretty good. So
yeah, heck
hopefully
yeah,
we get it. I mean, we're getting rain coming through this weekend, and then I don't think we're gonna get snow for a while. I think the temperatures are gonna be too high for us to
yeah,
get snow, but those cold fronts coming through, push them down, hopefully.
heck yeah. Well, send me some pictures when you do it.
Yeah.
And I want to see that coot raft, man. I'm dying to see. We get like 2 coots a pond down here. Like, and don't see balls of coots. I want to
Oh
see one.
man.
I
Yeah,
can't
I
wait.
should have taken more pictures and videos and stuff. We didn't take any video of that duck hunt, but we should have because like it just would have been cool to see all the coot if anything
Yeah,
else. But yeah, when I'm on my way home tomorrow, I'll send you a Snapchat or something of them because
heck yeah,
I mean chances are they're going to be in there, but they are piled in. So
heck yeah. That's awesome, man. I'm
yeah.
pumped.
Well, Logan, it was a good one. I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
on, taking the time to share a couple stories and your insights on duck hunting. Like you said, you're not the expert, but who's the expert in anything?
yeah. There's a lot of guys that have forgotten more than I'll ever learn, but it's fun. So I appreciate you having me on, man. It was a blast. Good
Yeah,
to catch up
we'll
with you.
have
I
you
didn't.
on again. Maybe at the end of duck and goose season, if you have something else crazy happen where you get you get your double band or another banded or something. We'll talk a little bit more, a little season recap for the
Yeah,
duck hunting for Logan, and then we'll just kind of got to sell you on getting that bow set up so you can go do a little bit of bow hunting this year or next season.
heck yeah, man.
So
I'll try and get it set up once waterfowl closes, and I don't know if I'm gonna chase turkeys this year or not. But yeah, I'll get it. I'll get all the stuff and get the arrows from you, and we'll go from there. I'm excited.
yeah,
So,
got to do it. Get out there. So awesome, man. Well, with that, we'll wrap it up. So appreciate you
well,
guys listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.